We're now recording. We ask that as you come in, if you could please mute your phone. It is 3 o'clock. Thank you so much for coming on. My name is Dr. Constance Longmire. We are celebrating Black History. I am a trustee on the Twinsburg Historical Society, and this is our 3rd annual Black History program. We are so glad that you came on and that you're here to celebrate with us. I see so many wonderful faces, and we did something new this year. We kind of had to do it with the Zoom. And we're just we're learning our way through this. So we still ask as you come in that you mute your phone, and also just have some patience with us as we go through this. Who's coming up next? I'm sorry, is coming up next is the president of the Twinsburg Historical Society, Ms. Bonnie Williams.
Yeah, I guess I better unmute for that. Okay. Well, I am Bonnie Williams, president of the Twinsburg Historical Society. I'm very happy to be here for today's program, and it will definitely be different from the last 2 years, but pretty much everything's been different this last year, so we'll go with it. And by making the program virtual, I'm hoping we're able to reach a much larger audience, especially those of you who can't physically be here with us in Twinsburg today. Now, the Society is very proud to again host this program for the 3rd year. And today's theme is celebrating our heritage. And that's what the Twinsburg Historical Society is always trying to do. We celebrate the heritage of all of Twinsburg, and not just what happened 200 years ago, but 50 years ago, 25 years ago, last week. It's all important. And there are many ways that you can help us with this. We're not talking about strictly financial contributions, though we're always happy to receive those. We'll never refuse one. You can become a member. This will allow you to receive our newsletter, and your dues will be used to help us maintain our properties, put on programs for Twinsburg, and we give a scholarship every year. And you can become a member by accessing our website, click on the membership tab, and that will give you complete instructions about the various categories of membership and how you can pay online or mail-in payment. There are other ways you can help us. The items in our museum all are important to the history of Twinsburg, and the only way we get these items are through donations from people like you. And of course, we do not, we realize that there may be things that maybe you don't want to part with right now. We can make copies of photos or documents and give you back the original. We can accept items on loan, but we really want to display things that are important in Twinsburg's history. And the other way you can help is through your time and talents. We're always looking for people to put on interesting programs. Maybe you can help us just with a cleanup project, or maybe you're an expert in some area that we don't know anything about. So my other plug is to please stop and visit us. We have an open house normally the last Sunday of every month. That would be tomorrow this month from 2 to 5 p.m. And we are also happy to let you come through the museum if Sundays aren't convenient. Both our phone number and email contacts are listed on the website, and just call or email us and say, you know, I'd like to go through the museum sometime, and someone will get back to you. And I would like to again thank everyone in our group, and especially Constance, for putting this program together. And now we'll just go to Mr. Keith Harris, our Master of Ceremonies. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. We want to thank you for coming to the Twinsburg Historical Society's 3rd annual Black History program and event. The theme is Celebrating Our Heritage. I'm Keith Harris, and everyone knows me. If not, we can touch base later. I'm going to try and keep things moving along. So next, we're going to have Mrs. Samia Zellner. She's going to sing the Negro National Anthem, and directly following her, we're going to have Miss Jada Pelly with a poem, I Too, by Jada Pelly.
Thank you. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies, and let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, and let us march on till victory is won. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies, and let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, and let us march on till victory is won. Now, one more time, I want everybody to sing it with me. Lift every voice. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies, and let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing the song. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, and let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. Thanks.
I too am brown skinned. I'm the new generation Negro. They say we all look alike, but I say it be false. When groups come around us, they all call us thugs. But I am a goddess of my own genetic formula. Yes, I am young, and yes, I am a female. Tomorrow they will see me other as skin of my color before my brains. I'll prove those who spoke against me wrong. When I outshine their depressing light, nobody will dare call me just another mad black woman. They say to me how mature I am for my age, then say, oh, I'm too young for the conversation on life. Besides being colored, their judgment is just another race to the finish line. They'll see me other than just my color, but for my education, being a strong, Black, sophisticated citizen, and be ashamed of our past and for what their past ancestors did to people that look like me. I too am brown skinned. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Next on our program, we have Mr. Ted Yates, the mayor of the city of Twinsburg. And following Mayor Yates, we will have Mrs. Kathy Powers, the Twinsburg City Schools Superintendent.
Thank you, Keith, and also thanks to Dr. Longmire for inviting me and putting this together. It's always an honor just to talk to residents and people that have been associated with Twinsburg, especially for Black History Month. Thanks to the Historical Society for also taking part in this. I was asked to kind of share my thoughts on unity, and it's a big word. And, you know, for me, being the mayor of Twinsburg, I serve a bunch of different people, and I have a lot of different roles. It's not just managing a $50 million organization. I have a certain responsibility, I think, when we look at unity and bringing together our workforce and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to bring unity to Twinsburg and the people we serve as residents. But then also I serve the community, and it's important for me to represent what unity stands for. You know, the real definition is, you know, a oneness, bringing together parts. And I think that is just so important. We've had a really challenging year, and not just because of COVID. There's a lot of things that's happened this past year that has impacted every single one of us. And so I think for me, you know, we're taking initiatives in the city to bring people together. And I'm really looking forward to both the encouraging and the difficult dialogues that some of the groups that we form may have. And so I'm really excited about, you know, I guess my role in Twinsburg and what I can do to help facilitate change. But I'm so proud of our community. You know, there's a lot that's we've accomplished in the last year, but I think there's a lot of work to do. It's kind of interesting. I sat down to try to figure out a place that I could be part of this, and I had to kind of move this one sign. So I don't know if I can see it, but it's like, it's probably backwards. We rise by lifting others. And that is just so true, I think, of everything that we're trying to do. And I know that Dr. Longmire is trying to do, and Mr. Harris and all that are participating here today. So I'm just truly honored to be part of this. I'm excited about the program, and just thank you for inviting me.
And now Superintendent Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. It's an honor to be with everyone this afternoon as we celebrate Black History Month. I want to thank Dr. Longmire and our friends at the Twinsburg Historical Society for hosting this annual event and for focusing this year on the theme of celebrating our heritage. Over the past year, the pandemic and our nation's reckoning with systemic racism have presented our school community with many challenges to confront. Although our district has for many years worked to ensure equity and inclusiveness in our classrooms, programs, and other offerings, I recognize on a warm June day in 2020 that we have not done enough. On that day, our community gathered for a peaceful protest where we listened to the words of those who have been personally impacted by racism. I was proud of the passion and resiliency shown by the organizers of the peaceful protest, all of whom are alumni of our district. As our community gathered, it was evident that much needed to be done to address the injustices of systems, including our district. This afternoon, I want to share with you some of the actions that have been taken since that day in June. On June 24th, the Board of Education passed a resolution condemning racism. In part, the board committed to helping find solutions that eliminate social injustice, bias, bigotry, and racism, and committed to providing our students with the tools they will need to empower our future generations to leave behind what divides us and bring us together as one. In August of 20, our staff engaged in professional development, which was facilitated by the National School Boards Association. This professional development session focused on exploring the main drivers of educational equity, and it assisted our staff members in understanding their role in this important work. Our staff members were very reflective upon the information they learned during that session, and many were excited to get to work in identifying ways to ensure more equitable, inclusive practices. Taking the lead has been our curriculum department under the direction of our curriculum director, Jennifer Farthing. Committee work has ensued whereby our staff members have reviewed literature to determine whether it is culturally competent. Historically, curricula often focuses upon one perspective. This sends a subtle message that these people, these authors, these events, or sides are what is valued and others are not. A culturally competent curriculum embraces topics which are relevant to students and engage students in multicultural activities. A culturally competent curriculum prepares students for the real world, and it teaches students how to deal with diversity. It provides opportunities to develop knowledge and acceptance of other cultures, and it has students look internally at their own morals, values, and beliefs, which can open the door to self-appreciation of one's own culture. Culturally competent classrooms send a message of appreciation, acceptance, and respect for all cultures. By teaching about and embracing diversity, this shows students that all views and all beliefs are welcome. Based on a survey of our books at the high school conducted in 2019 by members of the high school staff, we learned that 2% of our texts are written by Black female authors, about 7% of our texts are written by Black authors or people of color, and none of our texts are written by Indigenous authors. These statistics are alarming in light of what we have all come to learn of the need for representation in all aspects of life, and especially in education. To be successful in life, our students must be ensured a well-rounded, equitable education where social emotional learning is interwoven with academics. In November of 19, the board adopted a 5-year strategic plan with culture climate delineated as one of 6 goal areas. Goal number 2 under culture climate states, the Board of Education and the Twinsburg City School District will support a culture of equity where all students and staff are represented and respected through holistic and creative approaches. Increased representation of diverse populations aligns with this goal and is one of the greatest indicators of student success, as it significantly helps to improve student achievement. It's important to equate children of color with their heritage, which enhances self-esteem and self-worth and creates opportunities and experiences which enrich the cultural development of all children. Further, per the Ohio Department of Education Social Emotional Learning Standards, which were adopted by our board in 2020, social awareness requires students to demonstrate an awareness and respect for human dignity, including the similarities and differences of all people, groups, and cultures. In a review of available literature in our media centers and classrooms, our staff has identified the need to build collections which are far more inclusive and diverse in subject matter, theme, and character, so that our students see themselves in the books they read. In February of 21, the district's Curriculum and Technology Committee reviewed a new Social Justice and Literature course and a new Black Voices in Literature course. The Social Justice and Literature course focuses on 4 key areas: the African American experience, the women's experience, the LGBTQ experience, and the immigrant experience. And the Black Voices in Literature course will examine the history and culture of African Americans in the U.S., beginning with early African literary tradition and onward through the modern African American experience in interdisciplinary design. Both courses were overwhelmingly approved by the Curriculum and Technology Committee, and just 2 weeks ago, our board approved those courses for implementation beginning in the 21-22 school year. Obviously, this is just the first phase of an important district-wide initiative which focuses upon educational equity. Educational equity is the intentional allocation of resources, instruction, and opportunities according to need. Future phases would include greater resource allocation to support the adoption of textbooks and books, which are more inclusive in content. As an educational organization, we are committed to supporting our students, their families, and our community members by eradicating systemic racism, bigotry, prejudice, and bias. We take personal responsibility to improve the lives of all entrusted to our care by seeking an understanding of how racism impacts the people of color in our community. To that end, it is anticipated that our board will soon authorize a contract with the National School Boards Association to begin the Equity Implementation Plan. This will be a collaborative effort involving our students, staff members, parents, community members, and Board of Education, with the ultimate result ensuring that all district decision-making and policy development will be done through a lens that ensures equitable practices at all levels of the district. It is through collaborative efforts, understanding, intentional connections, advocacy, ongoing professional development, and action that we will be able to eliminate inequalities and racial bias to fulfill our nation's true promise of liberty and justice for all. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you this afternoon a little bit about our district's critically important initiative, and I thank you for your attention and continued support.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Powers. At this time, we are going to have an instrumental by Larnie Zellner called People Get Ready. And we're going to follow Mr. Zellner with Laura Leonard, the director of the Twinsburg Public Library.
you.
Hi, everybody. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, you can.
Thank you, everybody, for inviting me. Constance and I are always frequently trying to figure out how to do things at the library in concert together, and COVID has been quite a challenge for us. So I'm grateful to be here. You all know I'm the director of the Twinsburg Public Library. Prior to that, I was the teen services librarian. But more important, I was born and raised in Twinsburg and only went away for 4 years to go to school in Detroit. And while I might have been a little naive in realizing the struggle that many of my classmates went through, I was blessed that I went to school with Michael and Victor and Tracy, and it was normal for me. It didn't seem a big deal to me. When I went away to school in Detroit, I was really shocked at the prejudice that I came across with a lot of the suburban students that were attending the University of Detroit. And I have come to value the fact that I grew up in a town that was diverse, even though I might have been not knowledgeable about some of the experiences they were going through. So it truly is a blessing to have grown up in Twinsburg. So I came across this when we were doing the history of the library a little while ago. This is a picture of Yolanda Davis back in the 60s, who during the summer would conduct a story time at our home at the corner of Oxford and Haddon Road. And those kids that are surrounding her are Jackie and Johnny Howard and Monica Harris. So we just love this story that this young lady loved the library so much that she wanted to share it with her community. And the library has a history of trying to work with the Twinsburg Heights development to have an impact there. Libraries by themselves, just like Kathy talked about, strive to have a good balance of information, popular reading that does not exclude anyone. And the thing that used to be difficult for me as a teen librarian is back I shouldn't say how many years ago, 24 years ago, there were a few African-American authors, but not as many as there are now. So now there's an abundance of African-American authors for teens. Angie Thomas obviously being the most popular right now. There are two important awards given for African-American authors in the children's field. Coretta Scott King is for African-American authors and illustrators of books for young adults that demonstrate an appreciation of African-American culture. And this year, Jacqueline Woodson won that, and the illustrator Frank Morrison, who illustrated the book about Aretha Franklin, won. Virginia Hamilton is an Ohio native and wrote the book that you probably all remember reading, MC Higgins the Great. And she gives out an award every year also for African-American authors and illustrators. This year, Mildred Taylor was recognized for her contribution. Now, might not care, but we were all excited back in 2016 because the first woman became the Librarian of Congress, and the first African-American was the Librarian of Congress. We're also excited because she's a public librarian, so she has an understanding. The Librarian of Congress obviously answers first to Congress, but she also strives to help funding with libraries. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. In the past, our library was very happy to host wonderful programs that even outgrew our space, that included the High School Black Gospel Choir, the Heritage Chorale, the STEP team, and more. And as you can tell from the pictures, it quickly outgrew what the fire marshal could allow. We've also had representation and presentations from the Illusion Factory, speakers talking about Carl Stokes and Louis Stokes, Dr. William McDaniel, Understanding Black History Through Black Music. And one of my favorite programs was a word stage program about Langston Hughes. It was beautifully done. Back in December, we were lucky to have an exhibit. It was the African American Children's Illustrated Literature Traveling Exhibit. When they first announced it in 2019, we had to fight with other libraries to get it. And the month that we got out, unfortunately, was in the middle of COVID, but we did have the exhibit and we'll try to get it back again. So like you, we've had to move to Zoom and Facebook and YouTube. And for the second year, we're doing the Blacks Museum. This year, it's via our YouTube channel. It's a tribute to art and excellence, and it's produced by Michelle Quarles Smith. And that will be available on our YouTube channel beyond February. Also, with your library card, you have access to canopy.com. And this month, we're featuring every Friday films that represent the African American experience. Again, you can reach that all year long. We're lucky enough to have displays this month from Doressa Carlton and Quilts and Dolls, and Mystery Henry Ford has a display in our library. Henry has been one of my biggest supporters of the library and helping us to make sure that we are inclusive in what we do. So I always appreciate Henry and Diane. We also have an African American book discussion group that we have had for at least 20 years, if not longer. It's led by Dr. Linda Crowell, and they have moved to Zoom also. If you're interested, just check out the reference desk and they'll give you the link. On Monday, they're discussing Sag Harbor by Colson Whitehead. And in April, they'll be discussing The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. We're also lucky enough to have access to the African American Heritage Genealogy Collection. So if you're interested in investigating your genealogy, this is free through our website. So finally, I'd like to wrap up. The library, the Twinsburg Library has a long history of celebrating Black history and works really hard to make sure to be inclusive in what we gather. And like all things in the library, some people hate what we have and some people like what we have. And some people would prefer kids to read classics and some of them want to read the romance novels. But our goal is to make sure that everybody has access to what they are interested in. So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Now we're now going to have a song, Isn't He Wonderful, by Assistant Pastor Ronnie Stevens of Dexter Pentecostal Church. And we're going to follow Pastor Stevens with Tanya Johnson, the fiscal officer at Twinsburg Township.
Wonderful, 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 isn't Jesus my Lord? Wonderful. Every eye is seen, is heard, it's recorded in God's word. Isn't Jesus my wonderful? There is in my heart a melody. Jesus whispers sweet and low. I am with you, child, and peace be still. All the lights ever below. Oh, isn't he wonderful, wonderful, wonderful? Isn't Jesus my Lord? Wonderful. Every eye is seen, is
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Constance, for having us and the Historical Society for inviting me to participate in today's program. I was asked to speak on the importance of diversity. And when I was reflecting on the word, I was thinking about the social environment that we live in today and how colorful. I guess I would describe our world as very colorful now, compared to when my great grandparents and even my grandparents grew up. How much things have changed in the world and how we've adapted to the change, and how important it is to accept the variations of, political beliefs, religious beliefs, sexual orientation. And some may not like what others may do, but it's important to respect how others live their lives today, and maybe to even just important to get understanding of the people and how they live and their choices of their life, because ultimately it is their choice. I think diversity is very important in building solid relationships, and very, very important to respect the fact that others may be different and to get an understanding of their differences. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. We are going to now have Larnie Zellner return to us for an instrumental of Amazing Grace. We're going to follow Mr. Zellner with with Miss Annika Banerjee. She has a poem, Still I Rise, by Maya Angelou. And then immediately after Annika, we're going to have a audio recording of Great Expectations Show Choir singing Stand By Me, directed by Brian Detweiler. Mr. Zellner, if you would please take it away.
by Maya Angelou. You may write them down in history with your
Is Annika a part of the meeting?
but still like us. Yeah.
Okay, I guess Annika is not with us, so we'll prepare to move on. I'm going to attempt to do a share screen.
I'm sorry,
And then-
Keith, Annika is here. She was speaking.
Oh.
Annika speak, and Annika, can you turn your mic up, please? We probably couldn't hear you, but Annika is here. Can you start from the beginning,
Okay.
Annika?
I can't hear.
She's on mute. Did she join with audio?
Annika, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Look like you're frozen on the screen. Okay, I guess we'll move on and then we'll pick her back up because we definitely want to hear what she has to say. She's going to recite a beautiful poem. We definitely do not want to overlook her. So I believe, Keith, she will come back on later.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Longmire. And Annika, thank you. Don't go anywhere. We want to get this cleared up so we can hear you. So please stick around for us, please. At this point, I'm going to do a share screen and play the audio of the Great Expectations show choir directed by Brian Detweiler. They'll be performing Stand By Me.
Keith, if it's playing, I don't think we hear it.
My apologies, you guys aren't hearing it? Are you all not hearing the music? It's certainly playing. Let me see if it's something I need to do here.
I can't hear it, Keith. I can't hear it.
You can or no?
No, I can't.
No. Okay. Let's try it now. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear it.
There you go. We can hear it now.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. Stand by stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me.
Want to thank the Great Expectations for providing us with that. We are now going to try and go back to Annika. Are we going to give that a try? Is Annika still on with us? Okay. Oh, there she is. Annika, we want to try and see if we can get you in here. You ready? Annika, can you hear me?
She says she don't think her mic is working, Keith.
Yeah. Annika, I don't think your microphone is working. We hear absolutely nothing from you. Constance, is you wanna keep trying, or how would you like to proceed?
Annika, if you hear us, can you give us a thumbs up if you hear us? Okay, we're glad you hear us. We can't hear you. It sounds like something is wrong with your microphone. So do you want to try one more time, or do you want us to move on? We definitely do not want to overlook you, because we want to hear the poem that you have, what you want to read. I know it. Okay, someone said that if you leave Zoom and come back in, maybe that'll help. So what if you try to do that, and then we'll move on and we'll cut back to you by the end of the program. Is that fair? Okay, thank you, Annika.
Thank you very much, Dr. Longmire.
Dr. Longmire,
I'm sorry.
could she possibly email that to me and I could read it for her if she can't get through?
Annika, did you hear that?
Are you able to email it to my email and I could read it for you? Okay, she could do that.
Okay, we are going to move forward with Mark Curtis. Mr. Curtis is going to introduce our guest speaker today. Take it away, Mark.
Thank you very much, Keith. Last year, I was fortunate enough to be the keynote speaker, and it is my distinct pleasure that I introduce this year's keynote speaker, Ms. Carla Lindale Bishop. Ms. Bishop is a filmmaker and assistant professor in digital storytelling at the University of Oklahoma. Recipient of the MIT and Black Public Media Fellowship hosted by MIT Open Documentary Lab and sponsored by MIT Center for Art, Science, and Technology. She received her bachelor's degree in cinema studies from the University of Chicago and her MFA in film and media arts from Temple University in Philadelphia. In 2013, she founded Focused Arts Media Education, an organization that trains youth how to make media that matters in their communities through in-school residencies, summer workshops, and community-wide documentary projects. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you and welcome Ms. Carla Lindale Bishop.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful intro, Mark. I'm really happy to be here today. Right now, I'm based out of Oklahoma, so I'm happy that I can join you guys via Zoom. One thing about the bio that's important is that I graduated from Twinsburg, so that's my hometown, that's my home base. I'm really excited to be a keynote today. What I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk a little bit about not necessarily Voices of the Hill, but kind of the inspiration behind it and some more stuff that I would love to do here and with other communities. So I'm going to talk about just that process and ways that I've used media and arts and education to try to give back, and I'll kind of discuss that. At any time, if you have a question or you can't hear me, let me know. And I'm gonna jump right in and just share my screen because there's a lot of like examples I'm gonna walk through in terms of, what's great is that it ties in nicely to the theme today. Celebrating our heritage. A lot of the work that I do deals with celebrating and preserving Black history. So I'm excited to show you the background of that work and what has inspired me. And a lot of people on this Zoom have been a big part of this project. Dr. Longmire has been a huge help, and I want to just thank everyone for joining us today. So let me jump right in. So let me know. Can everyone see my screen? Let's see. Okay. We don't have any tech issues. I
Yes.
just call out and I'll I can adjust or whatnot. All right, so as I said, today I wanted to not just talk about Voices of the Hill, I want to talk more about like what inspired that project and then the direction that it's going and how that project has inspired a lot more and just a lot more work that I'm trying to do to continue to preserve not just Twinsburg Heights, but other communities across the US. So this discussion, and I want it to be a discussion, I'll kind of run through some things and leave time at the end to really just talk to everyone, get their input and ideas. I just want to talk about different ways to preserve and celebrate the Heights and other communities throughout the US. So this picture right here really inspired a lot of the people in these photographs, images, streets. Once I finished working on Voices of the Hill, it changed me as a filmmaker, made me realize just the power of media, and then also just the importance of getting these stories and that sense of urgency, especially now. But before I even get into that, I want to talk about that journey, like how it just started. Like a lot of people, when I started asking questions and asking people to basically walk me into their homes with a group of students and college students to interview them, the first question I would get is like, why? What do you want from us? What are you trying to do? There was a lot of hesitation, not a lot, actually it was a lot of open arms, but still like just a lot of people wondering like, what is it you're trying to do? And I had to keep explaining, like, I'm not trying to exploit any stories. I'm trying to just document and kind of give these stories back. And where this came from is just my own story. So in this picture is my grandmother, Lorraine, her mother who graduated from Tuskegee University on the far right. She moved up from Alabama after she was teaching there in Alabama for a few years. They moved to Cleveland, and that's how my family got to Ohio. But a lot of the stories, all the in-betweens, I don't know anything. I don't know a lot of information about my family's history. Most of the people in this picture have since passed away, with the exception of my cousin Barbara. So a lot of my family's history is gone. And that kind of inspires me to want to make sure that I capture more histories. I feel like a connection with, even though different families and different communities, I just feel like as Black people, we have like a shared history and a shared culture. Let me kind of go through. So I'm going to show an example of just about a minute from Voices of the Hill and how these interviews really sparked me to do even more with this project. So let me play this. Let me know if you have any issues hearing it.
I more or less fell in love with this place, and it's a place. I don't know how you kids feel, but it's a place like you've never been in a place like this before.
How long have I lived in the Heights? 61 years. My parents came from Pullman, Alabama in the mid-1940s.
I moved to the Heights in 1938.
And I graduated from school in Twinsburg system, 1959.
Our family moved out in the Twinsburg area in 1939.
I have lived here all my life, ever since I was a little girl.
Well, my family came, uncles and aunties, they was here in the 40s.
When were you born? Why did you move?
I was born in Portland, Alabama. I came here in 49, December 49.
So I'll stop it there. Were you guys able to hear and see that okay? Like it wasn't loud?
Yeah.
Right. Great, great. So that clip, actually, just looking at it now with everyone, and I'm sure with other people in the Zoom, for me, it was really hard to watch. This was about 5-6 years ago, and unfortunately, there's been a lot of individuals who have since passed, and that really just again is a sense of urgency and importance of documenting these stories with people while they're here, and so they can continue to carry on their families' legacies. So even seeing that today was a little bit tough, and I definitely want to continue to honor those lives that were part of this project. And that gets back to my why, like why I'm doing this. As I said before, my own personal family, just, I wasn't able to get everyone's stories. So I'm trying to just, as a, communal history, making sure we're getting our stories out there. Another why, so when I was working on putting Voices of the Hill together, I was in my little makeshift office in my house, and I had a little like vision board above my computer where I was putting all the video clips together. And what I realized is that a lot of like newspaper articles or just descriptions about Twinsburg Heights and Black communities in general tend to use a lot of words that were like really negative, like about communities being oppressed or downtrodden or marginalized and underrepresented, with minorities that are disenfranchised and stories that are untold. And I decided on my vision board, like I was gonna cross out all those words because I want to make sure with Voices of the Hill, basically when I was looking at the footage, that's not what I was seeing. I was seeing, instead of people that were impressed, I was seeing a community that was empowered, that were liberated and celebrating their history. Instead of seeing people that were underrepresented, like they were absolutely represented. They weren't the minority. Instead, the Black community in Twinsburg Heights is the majority. And even though that's shifting now, but I just realized that as we were getting all these interviews with the help of a lot of the young people that were working with this project, we weren't getting that same, narrative about being like downtrodden. Instead, it was like a lot of stories about faith and fighting and courage. And that is that I don't know what happened. Oop, did you guys hear that ding or can you hear? I don't know what that is. Oh, I guess people are coming in. Okay. Gotcha. So to kind of circle back, just these are some of the words that guided me when I was creating the project, and it was also my goal that anyone that saw it walked away with that. And at the center of that, in terms of my organization, Focused Arts, I treat that as like my love letter to the Black community, meaning something I'm trying to give back, full of love. So underneath this, I just have a picture of my husband when he proposed to me, because that feeling of love is what I'm trying to carry throughout this project and others that I've been working on since then. Another thing that was big about this project, I wanted to make sure that we celebrated the people and the families that were a part of it. So a big thing, like one of my most favorite moments was the red carpet event that led up to the premiere screening in Twinsburg. It'll be forever just ingrained in my memory. It's just something that was just full of that love that I was trying to create. And it took a lot of work, even just getting like something as basic as a red carpet and the backdrop and the photographers and posters. But I really wanted to celebrate and make sure everyone felt that love. What else do we have? And then another section that's really important with this work and just the work I do in general with Focused Arts is that youth engagement, like bringing young people in to help tell these stories. There's something magical that happens when you have a young person interviewing someone older in the community, and just the type of knowledge and inspiration that's passed in between those two generations has been something that I'm going to continue to work on. I feel like it's something very different if I'm just interviewing someone versus a young person. So that was a big part of this project, using it to bring people together and just really feel like they're empowered to just celebrate the histories that they. When I came in here, I wanted to make sure I wasn't just coming into a community that I wasn't born in. I was born in Cleveland, and eventually, I lived in the Heights for a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't coming in trying to tell people what stories to tell, instead like asking, okay, what histories do you guys want to document? And that was a big part of this process, and moving forward, I want to make sure I continue that way. Another big part of Voices of the Hill, just the acknowledgement to outside communities. It screened at the Cleveland International Film Festival to over 3 sold out jam, like back-to-back screenings. And this is one of the ones at the Akron Museum that sold out. And just making sure that the surrounding areas, I had a lot of people in Hudson and Akron saying they never even knew about the Heights. So I wanted this film to make sure that people knew that this was a community that was a force to be reckoned with, and just seeing them on the big screen was my initial vision from the start. And I was very And then the other thing that's more recent, I'm really, really excited about, it just was premiered on Amazon Prime about a month ago in like mid-January. So now like the whole world, like we have people, I can see like the metrics, there's people in the UK, people in Australia who are now learning about Twinsburg Heights. And one of my most excited parts is that even in the description online, it's just like a screenshot from the film. With the directors is not just me. I love how the young people are Alicia, Yvonne, Tay, Tora, and then a lot more that just couldn't fit on this description, along with even like the community that starred in it, you know, Mr. Brandon, Mr. Curry, Mr. White, and countless others, again, that are more in the credits of the film. And just to show how this truly was a community project. It wasn't just me filming, it was a team effort. And I'm glad that they're able to be celebrated as well with their names on the screen and streamed worldwide now. And every day, every week, I'll get, again, the metrics, and there's like hundreds of people watching this documentary and learning the history. And then with that, even when I finished this, I knew I wasn't done. I knew I didn't get every story. I knew we weren't able to get every perspective. I knew there was just a lot more to uncover. And that kind of took me on my next phase of this journey in terms of just the stories that we still need to get while we can. Another big part with this project is representation. And that was mentioned earlier in terms of just some of the things that the school is trying to do to make it more balanced or whatnot. But while we were doing research, even at the Historical Society and at the library, who were both really great resources for us, we started noticing a trend in some of the newspaper articles that we saw. A lot of them will use words like or shanty towns or Black ghetto. And again, when we were recording, these weren't the stories that we were getting. Like there was a disconnect. People weren't saying that they were apathetic. Instead, we heard stories about how people were fighting and just really, you know, strong sense of family and community, and that resilience is what we kept getting on film. And that wasn't what was reflected in, you know, the newspapers that, you know, were written by outsiders or by other perspectives. So that's another thing that really pushes me to do more of this work, just getting more voices out there and that representation from our own perspectives and getting those stories from our point of view. I'm going to show you a snippet. This is from Reverend Sidney Miles, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but he was a huge part and a huge supporter of this project. And I'm going to play just about a minute of a part of his interview that really speaks to why we have to get these stories and why there's a sense of urgency.
We had organized a group, and we had a meeting with them and told them, no, they will not cooperate with them, because what they wanted, the heights, because like I said, for the factories, and we were not giving it up, and we fought them for years and years. I told them, I'm not giving up my shack.
So for that brief snippet, I know when we were on this film together, this is something that really struck me to my core, just hearing his words and even seeing the newspaper articles, how they said that, you know, the Heights didn't fight back. And he's telling you, absolutely no, we fought, we were there. He named the names of the people and said what they did. And he said a lot more that day that we couldn't even fit into the whole documentary. So I have all these files, all these videos, all these images and these stories that are just looking for a place to live, and also just more stories that need to be gathered just so that the truth can be known. And this has really sparked me in terms of even just personally. It made me even go back home and realize, okay, what can I do for my neighborhood, for my neighbors? So this film itself just changed how I was just afterwards in terms of how I use media and just basic community service and engagement. After this, I realized like there's more voices we have to get, even more communities. Since working on this, I've moved a couple of times. I like to live a life of just adventure and just, you know, I want to keep get more of these stories. And when I moved to this town in Texas, and I realized that there's different versions of the Heights all throughout the United States, like slightly different with their own unique histories, but a lot of similar stories. This map represents some of the different Black populations across the US. And my vision is that, using this map to try to tell all these stories. I know it sounds like kind of crazy or whatnot, but I want to make sure that we're like mapping our stories ourselves and getting it from our own perspectives and those who live in these communities telling their own stories. Again, but what I noticed with these data points online, if you look up this site, it's called ESRI, and they do a lot of like geographical mapping and data visualization. A lot of the information they have has to do with some of those common, a lot of issues that plague Black communities, and not all of them, but it talks, you know, a lot of these sites talk about, again, like redlining and health disparities and environmental racism, prison reform and things like that, all things that are really important and urgent in our communities. But what I saw lacking was like, there weren't like stories of like the history or the everyday heroes or love or beauty. And just to balance it out, like if you go online and just look up some of these communities, you would think it's all just horrible and just sadness. And again, that's not the sense that I've gotten in the Heights or even other communities that I've visited. So I want to make sure I'm trying to give like the other side and just that counter narrative to what makes Black communities what they are, which isn't just the trauma, but just the hope and the life that's in a lot of these communities. When I moved, I worked on another project called Freedman Town 2.0, and it was in a similar vein as Voices of the Hill, but it was, I worked with college students and youth as well. I really like that structure in terms of having young people gather this history and feeling connected to it. But what I came up with, what I realized is that this neighborhood had a lot of similarities to the Heights. They were surrounded by like railroad tracks, factories. They had a lot of small churches. So some of those like physical similarities were here just by the, you know, just by the nature of how a lot of Black communities formed after the Great Migration and segregation and redlining. By default, a lot of these have some similarities. So it was really fascinating to hear and see some of the same stories that we know in Texas versus in Ohio. And then I also saw some different ones too, to show the uniqueness of every neighborhood, like they're not all the same. I'm just gonna play a minute or two. This is Marjorie Young. If you look on this map where this number 2 is, there's a park that is named after her husband, Carl Gene Young, who has passed away. And she wanted us to interview him so that we can learn more about him. And at the end of her interview, we asked her, what do you want young people to know about your husband? And this is what she said. So I'm gonna play this for a minute. Oh, hold on one second. No. Let me pause it.
I also just wanted the children to know that this man, my husband, Carl Gene Young Sr., he was and still is the love of my life. I also just wanted the children.
All right, so that was Marjorie Young, and this is what she was adamant about us preserving about her husband and their love. She was like, I want the kids to know that he was the love of my life. And stories like this, I realized like they're not in the documentaries I see on Netflix. They're not in the books, in the history books, in the literature that we read. These stories are missing. And I feel like there's still importance and relevance and validity to these types of stories. And it came about because we asked her, what do you want people to know? She spoke to the kids in the room. She's like, I want them to know about our love. And we were able to get a lot of stories like that where they need a place to live and, you know, there's importance to it. The other thing that we realized is, again, there are about 7 or 8 churches in this small neighborhood, and seeing how a lot of similarities with the Heights. There's like a church almost in every corner is really similar. And this is one of the churches that we documented as well in some of the life. One of the differences that we learned, this is Ms. Sharon Ekby. She was one of the first students that was integrated into Denton High School at that time. So it was a little bit different than the Heights. And I think those are some things that make the Heights unique, where the schools were integrated from the start. In Texas, a lot of schools weren't integrated until much later. So she talks about what it was like being that first student. So with this project, we made it an interactive augmented reality documentary, and we were able to use like physical location points where if you walk around the neighborhoods, you can hear these stories. So we were kind of like mapping the change of this neighborhood. And I just pulled a quote that I really enjoy from Muhammad Ali about just mapping change. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just get all these stories and put them on the map and make sure they're there and they're archived and they're in a digital format where everyone can access them and add to them, which I'll talk about more in a minute. Another great thing that I'm trying to do to preserve some of the history in the Heights is just mapping that change, like physically and also through the addition of more stories. The map on the left, this is a handwritten map that I received from the Golden family. This is the Heights in pre-1932. and then just comparing it with the Heights today, and then even trying to think what it's going to look like in the future, like literally comparing that change and preserving it, like seeing some of the families that were there, some of the street names, the farms and things like that, and now seeing what's there today. There's been a lot of change, and it's continued to change. And you know, even in the last 5 years since we made this, there's been a tremendous amount of change. So this documentation is really, really important. So with that being said, some of the next things I want to do, I'm trying to do a more of an interactive, more inclusive Voices of the Hill that includes also other communities. That's called Mapping Blackness. So I'm making an interactive digital map where communities can then add on their own stories, like especially with the Heights, how some of those, like I said, we just weren't able to get them all. There's way too many for just one person to get. So creating a map that has all these different communities where they can even see and hear each other's history and learn from them. Even I was in South Dallas about last year. It was in like last February. I was talking to community down there who's trying to get their story told. They've had their stories told in the absolute worst ways by the media in Texas, by news programs, and they keep getting exploited, and they want to tell their own stories. And I told them about the project I did in Twinsburg, and they were fascinated. They're like, man, I want to go there. I want to visit. I want to meet them. And they were really excited because it has a lot of similar concerns and issues and things that they want to learn how to preserve their neighborhood. Habitat for Humanity is there, and they're building a lot of houses. They're changing the neighborhood, and they saw how that's happening in the Heights, and they're saying how, you know, there's some similarities, but they're saying that, you know, some communities are taking action and fighting for it, and they're trying. So I feel like there's a lot of growth and learning that can be learned between communities. My vision, or like my inspiration for how I intend to like put this all together. There's this really cool app called Radio Garden. I don't know if you guys have been, or if you're familiar with it, but if you just Google Radio Garden, it's an interactive globe with all these green dots. And then when you click on anywhere on the globe, you can basically hear different radio stations throughout the world. So that's going to be my inspiration for building out Mapping Blackness, except instead of music, I'm trying to get stories and photographs and maps and just the histories of these communities. So you can click on anywhere on the map and get the history of these various neighborhoods. Another thing that I'm working on too is just making this more interactive and more immersive. I loved what Voices of the Hill did, but I also feel like there's a lot more that we could do in terms of like interactive media and more just emerging technology. So this past December, I was kindly let into Mount Olive Church, and I brought in a 360 camera, which basically gets the whole inside, you know, 360 degrees. So let me play this. And so what I want to do is, you know, just, this is really rough. This is just a demo or whatnot, but I want to be able to go into buildings and spaces and get that 360 view. So you can look up and see, you know, what it's like in these spaces, so that if, let's say, for example, 100 years from now, this church is no longer there, it's archived, and you know, we have this, we're going to preserve it because we have the footage that can live online in a digital archive. So that's another thing. So this summer, and I'm still really, this project has been impacted by COVID and traveling and things like that, but hopefully in the summer or fall, I would love to get like a phase 2 of Voices of the Hill, where we're getting like 360 video of spaces that are important to document and preserve. And not just that, but also just using more augmented reality to, you know, this is a map in Texas, but using augmented reality to create like location and visual triggers, where if you're walking down the street, a video will pop up on your phone that tells the history of that church or of what used to be here or the farm that was there. And then the other thing that we're trying to do is incorporate like 3D scans, so that buildings that are there, using volumetric filmmaking and photogrammetry and a few other technologies, there's a way to scan the physical buildings and then bring them into a digital world so that they can be forever preserved. One reason that I really thought about this, I'm thinking about Sanctuary of Praise, how we filmed a lot in that church, and that was a huge support of Voices of the Hill, but now it's no longer there in the same fashion. So like, we can't go back in there and film in there, but if we can get a 3D recreation of that church and have that designed in the virtual world, we can still like preserve what was there, and we have the stories and the voiceover to also give some a sense of that history as things are rapidly changing. And then the other part of this project that just makes me want to continue to do more and realize like it's still unfinished, and I'm trying to just continue with this work is that youth part. Like there were a lot of high school students at that time. A lot of them are now, in college and about to graduate college, but they were a huge part of this project. And one thing that I noticed is that they also impacted the type of stories that were told. What I noticed from doing this now in multiple communities, when you have young people doing the research and interviewing their elders, the responses that are given to them usually come from like things that are more like inspiring and what they want the young people to do. So even in the one interview, you heard Miss Young talk about, I want the children to know about the love I have for my husband, or, and then in this quote right here, I'm gonna play this for, it's just about a minute. And just Mr. Curry, at the end of our documentary, he spoke directly to the young people that we're interviewing. So even a part of this is to figure out how we can pass some of that knowledge down to younger generations. So let me play this for a second.
I was a trustee 1977 to 1989. Yeah. And during that time, the township, and I don't say it because I was trustee, but township really started to move ahead at that time. They moved upward. And I'd like to see some younger persons running for trustee because as of now, they have no representation there in Heights. I'd like to see youngsters, and you've got a bunch here that seem like they're really into different things. But I'd like to see it when the youngsters run for trustee.
So throughout this whole project, we received a lot of gems like that, where a lot of the people we interview were giving advice to the young people that were interviewing them. And I think that's something that I don't know, just gives a different perspective. It's almost like, what do you want people to know moving forward? What advice can you give us? And I think this is important now, even just in 2021, with the climate of this country and this world in terms of just activism. And I feel like the Heights was a really clear and clear-cut example of what happens when people work together and they use their voice and their tools and their community to really create something great. And I think this is important to pass on to younger people as well. And just some of the students that were part of it, hearing their impact, and tell that it really resonated with them. So kind of what's next, and I'm gonna open up the floor next, is basically like, where are we now? What other stories need to be preserved? So I'm currently building out like the infrastructure of mapping Blackness as like a prototype. And I'm going to different communities and just asking them, what are spaces that you feel like need to be preserved? Whether it's like a 3D scan or just on video or photograph. I'm also asking communities, like, what stories do you want future generations to know? So 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, what do people need to know about the Heights? And then also, who are those everyday heroes that should be acknowledged and celebrated now? Like, who can we give the flowers to now, and just let them know that they've made a difference or impact? Those are some of the three like main focuses of the next iteration of Voices of the Hill and adding it to the map. But this is something that I want us to be definitely like more of a collaborative process and community led, because I feel like one person may have one idea of a place that needs to be preserved, and someone else may say, oh, this church or this house or whatnot. I think this project makes it so that we can get all ideas on the table and make sure no one's feeling left out, and that all these stories can be heard and stored in one place. One thing that's been hard is that right now I have about like 5 or 10 different hard drives that are just full of hours of interviews, photographs, newspaper articles, and I want to make sure that it's available to those who need to see it, and also just make more to it. So that's kind of the phase I'm at right now. That's going to turn into mapping. Includes just a mix of communities that I've been working with over the years. A big part of it. So at the end of the day, I want to map love. I have this beautiful picture of Harvey and Mamie Peak that Constance Longmire, gifted to us years ago. Like, I want to show this love so everyone can see that, right? I want to show businesses, Black-owned businesses, Dooley's Place. I want to do a 3D replication of that so people know what it looked like. So if that building is no longer there, can we recreate it in a 3D world so people can know what that was about? And that can inspire like a future generation of business owners. So I think there's importance that connection to young people is really important to this work. Mapping faith, the churches that have been just landmarks in all these communities that have really helped strengthen and preserve these communities. I want to put that on the map. I want to map families, the Goldens. I want to make sure that we're getting all these families and their unique histories. Like every community has their history, but then within that, every family has their own history. So how cool would it be if your great-great-grandkids can click on a website and hear their great-great-grandfather telling a story, what brought them to Twinsburg, so they know, where they came from. That's kind of the stuff I'm searching for. Like, I don't have that with my family. Mapping homes, Mr. Brandon, his house, he's talked a lot about this. Like, I want to get the homes. I want to make sure people know that some of these homes were built by hand, and just getting that history, right? And then the other one is just mapping me. So this is a picture of my father, Dale Kenneth Carter Sr. I don't even know how old he was in this picture. He has since passed away, but everything that I do with this project, I feel like I'm intimately connected. Like, this is a part of the history that I'm trying to capture as well. Like, this is our shared histories of just getting Black communities, Black families, Black love, and getting those on the map. Because I can't go back and ask him, like, I don't know what's going on in this picture. I don't know who these kids were, what they were writing. I have no clue. I wish I could interview him and ask him, like, what's going on in this picture. But I just have the memory, still there. But I think it's important to be able to allow other communities to get their stories while they can. And that's been my huge inspiration. This time around, I have a few partnerships. When I did Voices of the Hill, I had a lot of community support and support from young people and things like that. But truthfully, I didn't have the funding. I was going out of pocket and just trying to scrape things together to make it happen. This time, I'm working with the MIT Open Documentary Lab and Black Public Media, along with my own organization, Focus Arts, and University of Oklahoma. And they're helping to give me partnerships and networks where I can't do 3D design, and I don't know, but to hire, developers and designers and things like that, that can bring this to life and make it come to life. And kind of I'll leave this up and I'll come back to this as well. So if you have any thoughts or ideas of okay, we need to get this for our neighborhood, or this is something that was missing from Voices of the Hill, or maybe we need to delve into this more, I would love to talk to anyone. And on this Zoom, you're welcome to email me. I have my email address here, and I can put this in the chat as well. You can go to my website. You can follow me on social media. I'm just Carla Lindell for Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter and LinkedIn. It's all pretty much the same. And I'm really open to making sure it's a collaborative process. So it's not me going in there saying we need to get this, but more so what does the community want to preserve? And that's basically where I'm at. I feel like I ran through that really fast. Let me stop the share and just see if there's questions, or if just questions, I guess, or any thoughts or ideas or recommendations. I see a lot in the chat. Go ahead and use all that. But yeah, I wanted to save time just for an open conversation. If y'all have thoughts or questions or ideas or suggestions. So quiet. So I see Tanya wrote, I'm looking forward to the future project. I agree. Give them their flowers while they're here, definitely. Someone said you planted seeds that have already given us great harvest. Oh, these are really kind words. Thank you. I'm having a hard time hearing. Oh no, Keith, you couldn't hear? Can you hear me? I can hear it fine. Yeah, that's pretty much what I had to present, and I'm done here. But I would love to have a discussion if there's anything else.
I believe we're going to proceed with some Q&A. Is that correct, Dr. Longmire? Okay, so if everyone, if you hear someone else speaking, please be courteous. Let them get their question out, and then we'll get right to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, let me apologize for being so late. I just got in from work and all that stuff, but I will, if there's a possibility, can I double back and watch this presentation? I don't know if that's a possibility.
recorded, right? Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool, cool. And so for a question, um, the projects, well, you probably answered this question earlier, but any projects in the future involving any of our youth in the community?
Say that one more time. You said how many?
Do you have any projects coming up involving the youth within township in the community?
That's what I'm working on. I'm just trying to figure out just with COVID, that's really impacted just how we're going about doing things just for, safety and things like that. But possibly this summer and or fall, I'm trying to get like a second leg of interviews with young people and also teaching them new technology like VR and AR so they can capture some of the buildings and still do more interviews like other stories that we didn't get. So as soon as I do that, I'll definitely like put that online and do like a call for young people who want to be involved for sure. Yeah. And those, we're just going to add those right on the map. So it's going to be like an interactive map where you can click and hear different stories that young people helped create. So they'll be learning that technology, like state of the art, new technology. I'm still working on the dates with that. Yeah.
I just wanted to say there was a question in the chat. The chat was a little hard to manage this time, so I'm not sure if everybody saw our answer, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Historical Society. But we are absolutely supportive of everything that Carla does. And the question was, what are you guys doing? Well, this is what we're doing. We're working hard to be open to all of this stuff. And if anyone on this chat is interested in helping us or has stuff to bring in or whatever, just let us know, because we're 100%. This is the third year that we have sponsored this event because it's so important to us. And Dr. Longmire and Keith Harris are both trustees of the Historical Society.
And they were a big part, even just getting the first project off the ground. So it was definitely a lot of help and support. We learned a lot. We learned what was there, and also we learned like what was missing. Like it's still a lot that we need to add to that history.
Carla, if I could ask, I'm curious, as a storyteller, I notice when I tell stories about people I know, somehow it kind of changes my view on things. So how has telling these stories and learning these stories changed you?
How have they changed me? So that's a good question. The more stories I gather and that I've told and work, and they're all been like a collaboration, so not just me. But the one thing that still stands out is just the inspiration for me to know I need to do more and do better for my neighbors. So every story I heard, or even hearing people talk about how, Mr. Brandon helped them when they were younger, Mr. White or Constance Longmire, just all these people who helped their communities, that inspired me to just check myself on daily, like, what am I doing for my own neighborhood? Or, even just little things. It can be like my daughter's friend, if she needs a ride home from school, checking with the mom, like, do you need me to help out? Do you need me to watch the I feel like that's what has gotten us so far. And I feel like there's a lack of that now. I feel like everyone's just kind of to themselves. So trying to bring back some of what I learned and some of the stories I heard, that's probably been the biggest impact.
Carla, I would definitely love to connect with you on the future project. Working for the township for as many years as I've worked there. And then also being part of the school district. For the many years that I've been there, I would definitely love to connect with you and work with you and assist in any way that I can. So you can reach out to me through the school or the township. But I wanted to put that out there that I'm willing to assist in any way I can.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you. I definitely want to stress like that the co-creation process. I feel like in like emerging tech, co-creation is like that trendy word now, but it's basically like one person can't do it all. Like you need to make sure you're working together and collaborating so you can get all the stories that need to get told. Yeah, so thank you, Tanya.
Well, just one more shameless plug. For those of you who are interested in finding out what we actually have and what we actually need, the Historical Society it happens to be open tomorrow between 2 and 5. The museum will be open and there will be friendly folks there to show you around. And so if tomorrow is a good day for you, we'll be there.
Do we have any more questions for Carla? Okay, then we're going to prepare to move on. I did speak with Annika, and she's still having some technical issues, so she asked that we move on, and she gives her apologies. Annika, you have to do something special for us next time. We're not going to let you off the hook that easy, so we look forward to seeing you next time. Excuse me.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
I do have her poem. She did email it to my school address, so I can read it on her behalf if you would like.
Perfect. Fantastic.
Okay, give me a second because I won't be viewed, but you won't be able to see me, but you should be able to hear me.
All righty.
Give me one moment. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. The title of her poem is Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise? That I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Johnson, for the reading on Annika's behalf. At this point, we're going to bring Dr. Constance Longmire. And Dr. Longmire, after you, if you would go ahead and bring the speaker of the unity prayer, that would be great.
Thank you, Keith Harris. Thank you, everybody. Didn't Carla do outstanding? Wasn't she just, I couldn't help but my eyes were watering. Hopefully it didn't come through. Carla, I thank you for such an emotional and heart-wrenching presentation. And when you have the pictures of there, I have to say about my parents and Black love, and then you have different communities. That's just wonderful. Thank you so much for the project, Voices of the Hill. Thank you for involving our children. You gave them another outlet of opportunity of what they can be and what they can do when they go to college. I want to thank everyone who participated. I want to thank our president, Bonnie Williams of the Twinsburg Historical Society. She is a great supporter. I'm so glad to be on the board with the Historical Society because, may I say this without offending anybody, they're woke. I can say that. They're woke, they get it, and they're doing everything that they can to help us. So I'm so glad being under the leadership of Bonnie Williams. I want to thank Keith Harris, did an outstanding job. Thank you so much. Mrs. Samaya Zellner, come on, daughter. She sang that song today. Ms. Jada Pelly, thank you for your poem. Did you guys know Jada wrote that poem? She wrote that poem. So I mean, kudos to her. Very good. Thank you for that. I want to thank my friend, Mr. Ted Yates. Thank you, Mayor of Twinsburg, so much for coming on and sharing those kind words. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Also, Kathy Power, Superintendent of Twinsburg Schools. Thank you so much. Also, Carla, the superintendent I'm sorry, yeah, Kathy Powers, she said that let her know if you need anything, she's willing to help. So please, she's welcoming that connection. So, and I know her, and she means what she says. She will definitely help you. I want to thank Larry Zellner and family, the instrumentals. He took us to church on that one song. Woo! I started to stand up and testify. It was just awesome. I want to thank Laura Leonard. Thank you so much, Librarian Director Laura Leonard. I remember Yolanda Davis. I remember her going through the neighborhood. She would ring the bell and we would come up there and she would read books to us. So thank you for prompting my mind, such a wonderful memory. Assistant Pastor Ronnie Stevens, I went to school with him. Thank you so much, Reverend, for that nice song. I want to thank Tanya Johns. Tanya, man, she's like one of my #1 supporters. I appreciate her. I appreciate what she's doing, not only for our community in the school systems, and she is a great wealth of knowledge and also support. I mean, just if you want to bounce an idea off of Tanya, she's there. Sorry about that, Tanya. You're going to have just a lot of people talking to you, but she's confidential and she's a good-hearted person. The Zellner family, again, thank you so much. And the Twinsburg student, Annika. Annika, I thank you for coming back. You're very brave. I appreciate her bravery and courage to come on and talk to us through this venue doing Zoom. The Great Expectations Choir, that was nice. Stand By Me, they did a wonderful job. Thank you, Great Expectations Choir. Mark Curtis, man, you did it again for us. Thank you. He was our guest speaker last year. And this year, he was the person to introduce our speaker. So thank you, Mr. Curtis. And again, thank you, Carla. I want to, those that are on the team, you may see my face, but there's a team of us. I could not do this on my own, man. No way. And I couldn't have. The theme, Celebrate Our Heritage, came from Mr. Henry Ford. So he's part of the team. Those of you that were on the team that make this happen, do you mind raising your hand or something? Give it a signal up. That's it. Marty, Mr. Bonnie. A lot of us was on there. So I'm so grateful. And I'm going to end at this time. I'm going to bring on now Reverend Dana King Jenkins. She was a resident of Twinsburg Heights and a graduate of R.B. Chamberlain High School, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you so much, everybody. And Reverend Jenkins, you can have comments and end us in prayer, please.
Thank you, Dr. Longmire. Thank you for the invite. Thank you, everyone. I am a Twinsburgite. That's what I call myself. Yes, woo woo. I am a Twinsburg Heights community resident. I graduated from R.B. Chamberlain, and anyone that knows me and everyone that knows me knows how much I love Twinsburg. I spoke recently in the introduction that they gave was someone from Twinsburg and who loves Twinsburg. And I do. Twinsburg is in my heart no matter where I am. My parents, my mom, she graduated from R.B. Chamberlain in 1951. I'm sorry, in 1970. 1969, my sister's whispering, it was 69, it was 69. 1969, my father also graduated from R.B. Chamberlain High School. So we love Twinsburg. My grandparents are from Twinsburg Heights. And so I just want to thank everyone for this and for the invite. In the Sanctuary of Praise, we are still here for you, Carla. We're in a different city, but we're still here if you need us. And I'll go ahead and close this out in prayer. Lord, we come before you today. We thank you for this time to walk through history, oh God. We thank you for it. We thank you for our people, oh God. We thank you for the support of others, oh God. And we thank you for this program, oh God. We thank you for Twinsburg, oh God. We call it the city of double blessings, oh God. Hallelujah. And we thank you, oh God, for blessing Twinsburg with great people, oh God, that will do great things, oh God. We thank you, oh God, and we thank you for this program. Lord, I ask that you bless all that have been a part of this program, oh God. Put your hand upon them, oh God. You said that you have given us the power, oh God, to create wealth, oh God. That means wealth financially, wealth of ideas, oh God. Wealth, oh God. Give us the ideas, oh God. Give us the witty inventions and thoughts and things, oh God, that will help bring Twinsburg to greater heights, oh God, and greater depths, oh God, that the nation can look on and see this city, oh God, as an example, oh God, of greatness for the community and for people, oh God. We thank you for it, oh God. We thank you for this program, oh God. Bless all, oh God. Ask, oh God, that you continue to bless the endeavors, oh God, of people trying to help communities, oh God, and help unity, oh God, in this time, oh God. I ask that you will help us, oh God. Lord, your word tells us, oh God, to love. That's how people will know that we're your disciples. If we show love one towards another, oh God, let us show love to each other, oh God, no matter the color, oh God, no matter the gender, oh God, let us show love one to another, that men will know that we are your disciples, oh God, and we thank you for it, oh God. Let us endeavor, oh God, to keep the unity of peace, oh God, in Jesus' name, oh God. And bless us and keep us. Let us be helpers one to another, especially in this day and time. Let us be helpers one to another, oh God. If we see someone in need and we can help, let us help, oh God, in Jesus' name. We thank you for this exciting time, oh God. It's not a time to be down, oh God, but it's an exciting time because there's work to do. And we can find ways to put our hands to work, oh God. So we thank you for this exciting time, oh God, to show your goodness and your greatness, oh God, and to be an example of what you have called us to be to each other, oh God. And we bless your name for it, oh God. Bless all that go forth from this time, oh God. Put a special blessing and a special anointing upon them to do your work, oh God, without hesitation. We thank you for it, oh God. Continue to bless Dr. Longmire, oh God, as she impacts her community, oh God, and bring forth ideas, oh God, and all that she's working with. Bless Dr. Powers, oh God, as she's working with our youth, oh God. Bless Dr. Marty, as she's working with our youth, oh God. Bless those that are working with our youth, oh God, that they will be an example, oh God, to show what can come forth, oh God. Continue to bless Twinsburg Mayor, Mayor Yates, oh God. Bless him, oh God. Give him your mind and your ideas, and oh God, lead and guide him, oh God, on the things that he should do and should not, oh God. Bless him, use him mightily, oh God. In this day, oh God, let your hand be upon him, and we thank you for it. In Jesus' name, I do pray. Amen, and so be it.
Thank you, Reverend Dana King Jenkins. Thank you for an awesome moving prayer. Everybody, I thank you so much. We are going to be on My Community Focus. They want this, so we're going to be on My Community Focus. Also, My Community Focus, formerly known as Cable 9, has reached out to Carla Bishop, and they're going to do a documentary with Carla Bishop on Voices of the Hill. So thank you so much for your time. You know how to get in contact with us. We're on social media. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you so much with the love of Christ, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you, everybody. Good night.